The Global Latin Factor Podcast.
Welcome you and all to another episode of the Global Latin Factor Podcast, where we talk about Latino everything. Yep, thank you very much for tuning in to another episode. If you have not subscribed to the channel on YouTube or follow on the audio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else, go ahead and do so. We truly appreciate it. We're gonna repeat it because it does help. Science says. I'm not saying that. I didn't Google that because Google had failed me on the last episode, so I'm not gonna do that. However, it does help whenever you subscribe, whenever you interact with us. And we would love to get feedback from you to expand whatever it is that we are doing. I love the fact that we get to interview people within our area right now, and then you get to see what they're doing, and they're Latinos. And even though I'm open to having somebody that's not a Latino, just for the same thing of getting their perspective as far as what they see whenever they interact with us, what a misconception that they might have about us, and kind of sort of just sit down with people. We're people at the end of the day. Whatever society or whoever is trying to do, separate, whatever, it doesn't matter. We're just one. I said a long time ago that if like some kind of alien space force came to invade us, we quickly to come together as one humanity to try to defend ourselves if they came and they didn't have the best intention for us. So that's one thing. Okay, so again, subscribe to the YouTube. If you liking the merch, we have different kind of merchandise. Go to the website. It's always in the description. However, it is thegloballatinfactor.com, thegloballatinfactor.com. You'll find the recent episodes, you'll find the store, and you'll get your stuff sent by Amazon. They print all this beautiful stuff out. So go get your shirt. We have different designs, and you'll be supporting the show, the podcast, and we appreciate it. We're about a year and a half in, and we still got more to go, and we appreciate you very much. Today is going to be a little bit of a different episode because we pre-record. However, the episode. However, the 26th of September, I had an appointment to take an oath to become a U.S. citizen, and I want to talk to you about that. So I wasn't really going to make anything about it. I wasn't going to really talk about it or anything like that. I did post something about it because I think it is a very significant accomplishment, especially being a veteran. That's what people get thrown off by, that fact that I was able to serve, but at the same time I wasn't a citizen of the U.S. But I'm going to go through that. And the reason why I wanted to post something is because I see one of my cousins post something that it was motivational. I'm like, he is my cousin, so of course I wouldn't expect it, but it's kind of cool that he sees that. At the same time, I see that my story might be able to inspire somebody that maybe doesn't understand, maybe doesn't see the importance, maybe has a dream of one day becoming a U.S. citizen, because it is a big deal, whether we want it or not. So I'm going to go ahead and briefly cover my journey as far as what entails me becoming a citizen. I am also going to have in the future an actual law firm come and talk about that process, and also some immigration. Literally going to get an expert to talk about the subject matter, because I'm not an expert. Google fails me sometimes, so I'm not going to be the one that portrays myself to be an expert in the matter, because I'm not. However, I am going to get a firm to come and talk to us about certain things. I'm just going to give you my perspective, my story as far as what it entails. I'm going to go way, way back, but not too far back. I'm not going to go the morning that I was born at 5 a.m. and blah, blah, blah. No, I'm not. But I am going to talk about, this is what I'm going to be calling my American journey, and my journey to my American dream, because, you ultimately need the American dream, citizenship, not necessarily, but, it's part of, I guess you could say, the package of completing the American dream that everybody sees on TV, everybody talks about. So first, I was born in Mexico. Got here to the United States when I was 11 years old. We crossed illegally. I'm not going to go too much into detail, but we had to cross the border, cross the river, go under a fence, run, and hide in a hotel, and then make our way over here. Now, the journey was my mom and my dad were already here. So it was only right that we were separated at that time. I really didn't. I was 11 years old. I was naive. I didn't really know what's going on. At that time, we just focused on going to school and just doing good in school, playing with your kid. You're a kid, and especially being where I'm from, very small town, very naive about everything there is. A lot of the things that I seen were on TV, so that's the time that I got to see outside of where I was from. So finally, my grandpa drove us to the border, and again, we crossed over illegally. We got here, and we attended school, and we began to go into school. And this is gonna sound ignorant as hell. This is gonna sound real ignorant, but when I first got here to the United States, first I only knew Spanish. Well, the first time I ever seen somebody that was redhead and freckles, first time I ever seen an African American in my entire life, except for on TV. And I was so naive that I asked whoever who was helping me to let me know if I was asking, do they all know Spanish? Like, they're not gonna know Spanish if we're in the U.S. But it was just my ignorance and my not being naive and not knowing much about the world. So I went and did that, and just shocked about everything that was going on. Everything where I'm from is again, it's a small little town. A lot of the times we have to walk. We used to ride horses to get to certain places. We had to take taxis to go. If we needed to go to get groceries or anything, we had to walk miles to get that. To go to school, we needed to walk. So all that was, everybody had cars here. It was a way different story. So we went to school, just finally kind of sort of worked the fact that I wasn't in my little town anymore, and then I realized this is a different world. So the culture shock itself of how the U.S. works compared to where we from. At the same time, again, the innocence, the ignorance of not knowing really, being in a totally new world. And then I noticed one time when I went to school, everything, but I did notice whenever we used to have our social, it did say not permitted to work. So that was part of the things that we had to, that kind of told you that you're not here to work. You're not able to, not really fear, but uncertainty that you're not really here, or you're not being welcome at this time. You're not able to function like everybody else. Even as a young age, I realized, and I read that verbiage that it said that. I'm like, okay, so what's gonna happen when I'm ready to work? But I was still a kid, and then eventually my dad was a resident. He's the one that applied for us, and he, first of all, the process of applying for from a resident, uh, to get your family, immediate family. There's a few requirements. I don't know 100% of everything. I know that you have to, we're his kids, and my mom too, so his wife. But I know you have to pay a lot of money. I know you have to pay a lot of money to an attorney to file all the paperwork and everything, because if you don't know the language, my dad didn't know the language, then you're not gonna know really what to do. So you're gonna have to seek somebody. He found an attorney, and he was able to file the paperwork. And once all the paperwork start filing, then of course you have to pay a fine too, because you crossed illegally. That's part of the process. This I remember, because you got here without permission, and you have to take care of it. So my dad and my mom put their money together and did all that. And finally, years, we had to go to physicals, we had to go get prints, we had to go, get other stuff done, shots, all kinds of stuff that we had to do. So I remember when I was younger, going appointment after different appointments, and of course we were kids, we would just ride around. But I remember my dad and my mom driving us to those places to get the fingerprints done, biometrics, to get shots, and to get physicals and everything, and whatever questions that they asked. So we had to answer all that. And then finally we did become resident, and I was able to work and start my earning a wage. My first job was at Cece's Pizza. I was a dishwasher, bus boy, dishwasher, but that's another story. So I was able to legally finally work and earn a wage and start filing my taxes and all that, and start functioning. And then after that, I joined the military. So There's a lot of confusion about that part. Like, if you're a resident of the United States, a permanent resident of the United States, you are able to serve in the military. You have to minimum be a resident of the United States to do that. Now, I don't know if they're allowing dreamers. I really not too informed about that, but I know for sure you have to be a resident of the United States to be able to. So that's how I was able to join. Was driving around in my car, I had a scholarship package because I was getting ready to go to school. I was 19 years old. I had my little package with me on my car, driving to my house, and did a U-turn, went to the National Guard, talked to the man. I told him, no, I just want to go for many years. Because I know my family, my mom and my dad wasn't going to be able to put me to school, so I had to figure some way to do so. And I figured the easiest way to do was to go to the military, so I did. And of course, again, you are able to join the military if you're a permanent resident. So I did all that, did the military thing. Um, went to serve in Iraq for a year. A year, and it was a year. It was a whole year, and then I got out of the military, honorably discharged, and went into the real world. At that time, so whenever they say you're a permanent resident, that doesn't mean you can't lose your residency, right? There's things that happen that you have to still act accordingly. You can't be reckless. You can't be committing crimes. You can't be doing all this stuff because it could cost you your residency. There's stories about veterans that went and served for this country that, for whatever reason I'm gonna I did a lot of self-inflicting things that I didn't need to do. I don't know why I was acting reckless. I don't know if maybe because of the deployment of the things that I seen when I came back, I was feeling like I needed to live, and certain parts of that meant for me to party, and of course I'm a young adult, so that included alcohol, and I did some dumb stuff. I put myself in a very bad predicament that I got myself in trouble, and I had to pay a lot of fines related with alcohol, and I started doing more self help. But I'm not gonna blame it on nobody. It was my responsibility. I self inflict whatever the case, what it was, whatever it was. I was doing it myself, and I was able to get out of it. But at the same time, I was putting my permanent residence in jeopardy because I kept getting in trouble because of that. So if you are a permanent resident, you can lose that. Just because it says permanent, it doesn't mean that it is permanent. So you have to really protect that. And after the time of the criteria, the time that you became a resident, that you can apply for a citizenship, I would highly recommend to do so. Uh, I would 100% recommend to start doing that because, again, it's really not permanent. It's really not permanent. And you don't know what the government can do at times that all of a sudden decide to take that away. The previous administration, not really too much discussion about it, but there's a few things that they wanted kind of sort of talked about, or maybe the media was talking about it, even though they were permanent residents here. So again, if you meet the criteria of the time that you've been here resident and you have done the things that you needed to do, you acted in good manner and good character, then please go ahead and apply for a citizenship. Get together the money that you need to, because you have to pay a fine for that if you're able to do it yourself. If not, seek a law firm that's able to help you with the process so you can go ahead and become a citizen. So I'm going to talk about that. So one of the times, so I used to travel. I go sometimes out of the country, and every time I went out of the country, they always used to pull me to the side and then check. And I always thought it was random, maybe just something with me, maybe my looks, I don't know what. And then by the third time that I went out of the country that did that, I asked one of the officers, hey, why does this keep happening? Y'all keep pulling me over to the side. Like, oh, we're checking your record to make sure that you don't have anything new. Because if you have anything new, then we're going to know, and you're probably not going to let you in. You're going to be in trouble. So I told him, how do I fix that? Do I need to get my citizenship? And then he's like, well, yeah, that would be the only way. And that started turning the gears. Not to mention, I was a little bit of fear that because I had gotten in trouble, I needed to allow some time to pass before I'm able to file for my citizenship. So those things combined, finally, I had enough. I felt like it was enough time. I started reaching out, and luckily my brother works for an attorney that does this, and I was able to get with them and pay whatever I needed to do and do whatever I needed to do to begin my process. Uh, I I seen somebody had told me that if you're a veteran that they are allowed to waive. To my understanding, that wasn't an option. Not even on the application we filled out that you are able to do that. Even though I did present they call you your release forms in the military, the army at least, is the DD-214s, and I don't recall anywhere that we've seen that the fee was able to be waived if you're a veteran. But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you still have to pay as a veteran for filing for a citizenship. So I got with the attorney. I told him my situation. I told him I got in trouble. It's been some time. I think that I should be good, and I want to go ahead and begin the process. They began to put a package together for me. I had to get and call out the places that I gotten in trouble, get as much showing that I took care of that, and then I had a show good moral character. The package included was called, I believe it's a good moral character, including letters. So shout out to my boy Carlos. Been knowing him for years. He was able to put a letter together. Sammy and my sister and different people that were able to do letters saying that even though I gotten in trouble, I I am a good citizen. I do the things that I needed to do. So all that was put together and then sent out, and it takes a long time. You have to be real patient with immigration. It does take a long time to review, and that's just part of the process. You just have to allow the process to go through. If you get an attorney, then they will be able to keep you updated. If they're a really good one, real happy and super content and super happy that the firm that I went to, which is Chavez and Valco, they were able to keep me updated the entire step. So I was never like in the dark about what's going on. I knew it was gonna take some time. You are able to, once you put your application, to register to the website, so that way they for the immigration, so they can keep you updated, and then you usually get emails letting you know what's going on. So it takes a minute. It takes a long time for everything to get done. You got to get biometrics done again. You got to get another background check, and that's just all part of the things that need to happen. And then after that, the next step after you do all that, you have to, again, they submit the package and everything. So you also have to do the interview and the test. There's 100 questions that you have to memorize, pretty much all of them, because they ask you at this point in time, as of the recording of right now, it's only 10 questions that they ask. You have to get 7 right. So you literally have to learn the 100 whether you want it or not. But you have to get 7 out of 10. It was a good thing for me that I like audio. So whenever I go to the gym, they have it online, the citizenship test. That's how I got to kind of learn mine. I just put it in as I work out and I repeat back. A lot of the ones I kind of remember from school. Some of them I just didn't, and I learned. And then I had my interview. They ask you questions. They check how well you speak. If you're able to write the language, they ask you the questions, and I got it out. Now, in my process, because of the things that I had happened, there's a few things that I needed to provide. So mine, even though the interview, usually what happens is you do your interview, and then they tell you you're good, and then they're going to have the oath ceremony. For mine, it's a little different because I had a few things that I needed to provide in addition to, because of what I had happened before. It wasn't a big deal, but it shouldn't have happened if I was acting right. But I had to do what I had to do. I accept responsibility for my actions. So I was ready. We were good. And then out of the blue came the oath ceremony that, to go and you do your oath, and you raise your hand. They give you the things. They give you a briefing of everything that you need to do, and certain things that you need to complete. Register to vote, passport, and different things like that. So highly recommend for you to, if you already met the residency, as far as the timing that you needed to be to file, go ahead. find a way to get the money and start beginning. If you're able to do it by yourself, I believe it's fairly easy. I just knew that for mine, I was gonna need extra help because I got myself in a predicament, and it it was a great moment whenever I was able to do it because I really owed it to my parents, especially my dad and my mom, because they worked so hard. They worked so hard to get us to be residents and become legal and be able to work. To For my immaturity and all my fault. I put that in jeopardy, and I wasn't gonna be good, okay, because anything, it could have been anything. I could have had a little bit of a weak moment, and before you know it, I could have easily lost it. Thank God that I was good, that nothing happened, that was able to be done, and now is a done deal. I'm a U.S. citizen, and very happy. I felt emotional at that time, and I felt relief, and I felt good that I was able to show my dad my certificate that I was good. He didn't have to say much. I just wanted to show it to him, to let him know that I wasn't all his hard work, the hours, the money, and everything that to he had to break his back to get the money and borrow money, whatever he had to do to get us. I wasn't gonna mess it up and throw it out the window. I really owe it to him and my mom to do that because both of them worked really hard for that, and I wasn't gonna just throw it out because it is possible for you to be a permanent resident and be taking that privilege away, and you'll be back in wherever country you're from. Not only Mexico. For me, it would have been Mexico, but it could be any country in the world if you don't act right. So you really do have to take care of your permanent residency once you have it, or whatever it is. Don't take it for granted. I know if you're young and listening to this, it might seem like you don't know nothing. Okay, I understand that. I know where you're coming from because I was in the same position when I was young. That's the reason why I got myself in trouble and cost me thousands of dollars to get myself right. Even though I took care of it, I took care of all my fees and everything else. At the end of the day, it would have been a whole lot easier. Probably would have more money to invest if I didn't get put myself in that predicament. And yeah, so that's pretty much my journey as far as my citizenship, how I came to got it, how I came to get it. Everybody's journey is different. When I was doing my oath and I was telling my dad about the ceremony, there is people from all over the world, not just Hispanics and Latinos. There's people from all over. There's people from Asia. There was people from Africa. There was people from Europe, South America, all over the spectrum of the world. Every single ethnicity, every single is present. It was present there, and it tripped me out because that's what it really is all about, right? I mean, some of these things sometimes they discuss on the news, but sometimes they don't show how diverse those ceremonies are. It's just not Latinos. It's a bunch of different people that are there, and it's beautiful to see that it's not just that we are. This is what the country, the United States. Now, I'm not gonna say America because America to me is not only the U.S. but down there. The U.S. has all kinds of different ethnicities and all kinds of different backgrounds, and then it's kind of, you can see it right there, the big melting pot in that oath ceremony of so many people that are there, and it's beautiful to me. I think it's awesome that people are able to strive to pursue the American dream, and to me, I feel this is a step in that direction. So yeah, I encourage you to once again, I can't stop stressing enough to take care of your permanent residency, and once you met the expectation, start beginning to see in the process. It's not super hard. The test is very easy. Some of the things you do have to arrange to do appointments, but it's not really super hard at all whatsoever. Especially if you don't get in trouble prior to, because you don't have any concerns. All you got to do is file the paperwork, and that's pretty much it. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I am gonna have a firm to come and talk to us about not only citizenship and my experience, but also talk about immigration. If for whatever reason you're listening and your status is not legal, then what are the options? Where do you start? All the uncertainty that people don't know where to start. I still say it to this day. You fear what you don't know. Like if you don't start asking questions, if you don't start informing yourself of what is the first step, where to even go to, then we're going to talk about all that so that you are able to know exactly where you need to go and how to even begin the process of talking to somebody. So that way you can, it's a peace of mind. It really is. Now I'm always been in peace, but there's always this back in the mind that like you're still a permanent resident. You're not fully. Anytime it could be taken away if something happens. So now, like, even though I sleep well, I can really sleep extra well for the same reason that I'm good. I am freaking good now, and I'm truly blessed to be able to have completed that journey of my life and do that. And I registered to vote immediately, and I'm gonna exercise my duties as far as a citizen whenever the time comes, because it's part of the things that we have to do. I have my little pocket of my Constitution, so it's not that big actually, so I'm gonna fully read it. So even though things that they go through in school, but sometimes you don't really bother to think about it. Now I am probably gonna invest more time in knowing about the Constitution, just reading it and having it with me so I can better fully understand. And that's pretty much it. If you have any more questions, you can leave them in the comment. I'm probably going to put some TikToks about this. But if you want to, ask me questions, put it off my experience. Again, I'm not. But be on the lookout that we are going to have an expert come and talk about the matter. So that way you'll know where you need to go, what you need to do, where you even begin. So that way it can be done and you can be good to go, and you can continue to pursue your American dream. Whatever it is that you're doing, keep it up, do good things, and good things will happen. And that's pretty much it. I really wanted to share this piece. I know it's different content than what we usually do, but I felt, as I mentioned, that hopefully it can motivate or somebody that listens to it can be, oh man, I've been thinking about it, but I don't know. Okay, well, hopefully you're able to know that it's not super hard and you can get it done yourself, or you can reach out for help. But it's I don't know, it's a feeling. It's a feeling to know that you're an American citizen now, and I know sometimes they feel like they're selling it to you to be in the countries, but I really feel that it's a great country. It's a great country to live in. It's a beautiful country. We got freedoms that we don't really realize and take for granted. Sometimes we are a little shelter and kind of also naive now, but we do have to expand our minds as far as everything else that it is in the world. We have to be open-minded about everything else, but it's so peacefully here. Everything's so easily here to do, pretty much. So, definitely have to enjoy it. So, this was another episode of the Global Latin Factor. Okay, remember, subscribe, go like, and go comment. We will have more content for you. Go visit the website if you want some merchandise. Go pick you up. We don't have the cup there, but we can definitely put a link to a cup if you would like one of these beautiful cups. And once again, this is another episode of the Global Latin Factor podcast. Remember, we are just like you. We're the spice in this melting pot that it is the world. Until next time. Bye. Thank you very much for checking out this episode of the Global Latin Factor podcast. If you are enjoying the content and the channel, go ahead and subscribe. Help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers so we can bring you more episodes, more channel. Go like, go subscribe, go write a comment. We appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Walks like a pedo, but in fact he's a flamingo. Coming to Havana, Henry from Puerto Rico. On a pirate ship, he don't know where do we go. The birds of the jungle chasing fortune and